Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new documentary MLK, FBI. And this film is talking about the lengthy and intrusive investigations by the FBI into Martin Luther King Jr. This is from director Sam Pollard, who very recently did Mr. Soul as well, which was a really impactful and meaningful and deep documentary that I got to check out for 2020. And now for 2021, we have this documentary, which really delves deep into basically this witch hunt that J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI were on against Martin Luther King Jr., trying to connect him to communism, trying to destroy his image and what people followed him for, to try to stop the work that he was doing. And there's some really messed up and concerning quotes that they had from J. Edgar Hoover towards the beginning of this film that really set the stage of the perspective that he had on Martin Luther King Jr. and thinking like he was somebody who needed to be stopped at all costs. And because he did not want to give black people a messiah to lead them and bring them up. And that's haunting to hear at the beginning of this documentary. And obviously J. Edgar Hoover was involved in a lot of shady and horrible things in the decades that he was in charge of the FBI. Whether it was the communist witch hunts with like McCarthyism and the Red Scare, into this, which he used communism as a way. He looked at the people that connected with Martin Luther King Jr., who had communist backgrounds, and tried to bring him down with them. And this documentary, for the most part, is very much a traditional documentary in the sense that it's like it has archival footage, it has interviews, it has voiceover, but I feel like it does it so well, and Pollard crafted it so impeccably. And shifting in between all of these, it's a well-commanded, well-produced documentary that really balances a lot of different perspectives and ideas to bring it together to make a cohesive film specifically about this issue. Because you have the layers, you have all that history of the FBI and what they were doing. They go into depth about how the FBI was being portrayed on television, on radio, to give them this look while they were doing all these clandestine, horrible things in terms of these wiretaps and investigating people and surveilling them. This is like the conversation, like sitting there trying to capture like Martin Luther King's sex life and trying to find something that they can use to make him look like a bad person, to make this pastor somebody that shouldn't be followed. And then you have all of the different kinds of background in terms of the civil rights movement. You have the perspective on like John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy and how they fit into this equation. There's an intriguing part of the film where when you start to realize what Hoover's trying to do in terms of using Martin Luther King's sex life against him, and seeing that context of how black men were portrayed in terms of just pure sexual deviant beings. They showed clips of films, especially like Birth of a Nation. And you have all of that context. The film does such a fantastic job of laying that groundwork, and so much groundwork from different directions leading up to what the focus of the film is here, and portraying this just personal vendetta against this man from J. Edgar Hoover. And it really captures the name of the film. It really is. There's Martin Luther King and there's the FBI, and everything that comes around to head straight into this confrontation. And it really set the stage leading all the way up to his death in terms of what they were doing to try to surveillance him and dirty his name, all out of the sake that they didn't want people to follow him. And it's scary what some people with power can do, and how like J. Edgar Hoover bullied and pushed around presidents and politicians of the highest order to get what he wanted. And he's a fascinating man, scary man, And then you have Martin Luther King, another fascinating man coming from a very different perspective with very different goals in mind. And it's an intriguing and engaging convergence of these two people in this story. And Sam Pollard does a fantastic job of piecing it all together in a cohesive way. Because he's using a lot and makes all of it work together. But those are my thoughts. Which this is a really strong documentary, informative documentary, and I think it's a powerful one that's worth checking out right now on virtual cinema. But how about you comment and let me know what you think of MLK FBI, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.